Hey there, Python programmers. I think it's about time for us to go ahead and make another game together. So today we're going to start working on a terminal-based Wordle clone. If you've never played Wordle, it's a word guessing game. A developer sold it to the New York Times a few years ago for $1 million. So we're making something legit here. It's also a great practice for a lot of the things we've learned. If you've never played Wordle before, typically you start by guessing a 5-letter word. Once you guessed it, it goes ahead and gives you a little feedback. I'm going to guess a couple more. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we have. We do have some validations in here. So, oh, I've already guessed tubes. It won't let me guess it again. I'll do a little wordy. Cool. So we have some guesses here. So the way Wordle works is once you make a guess, it colorizes your letters. A green letter means you have guessed the correct letter in the correct space. Yellow means that letter is in the word, you just don't have it in the right space. And if there's no color, hey, it's not in the word or in the right space, so try again. Based on this, I think we can guess it. I'm going to go with it. Looks like we are playing for tired. And look, it was tired. Cool. So once we guess it correctly, obviously everything should be green. All letters are correct in the right place. We get a little feedback on what the correct word was, as well as how many tries it took us to do it. Cool, so that's Wordle. Let's start making it together. In the description of this video, there will be a link to my repo. There is a little bit of a starter code. You're going to want to go ahead and grab that. It's the same place where all the other games have been. So once you get that in the Wordle directory, we have a starter folder, and let's just talk about the files here. The Wordle starter Python. This is our Wordle class stubbed out with our methods and passes in it. This is where we'll be doing all of our work. We have this logo.py file. This is just the ASCII art logo we see in the game. It's a really good idea to abstract this to a separate file. This is a very delicate multi-line string here, our ASCII art. So if I accidentally put a cursor in it, press any keys and mess it up, it might be hard to fix. Great idea to keep it separate. Here is what I use to get and generate it. Got to give attribution to the developer there. Again, here's the link if you want to go ahead and generate your own. Definitely should check that out. The last file is words.txt. We've used this in other games before. This is a list of about 850 text words. This is what we're going to use for our word bank. Note that they are different lengths, so we're going to make our Wordle dynamic. While 5 is the default, you could play with 6 or 4 or 7 letters. We're just going to have to, maybe pare the words down to the right letter length before we start randomly picking from them. Cool. So let's jump in and start some code. Let's work on a few imports first. Anytime we're doing a game, we probably need to have some sort of randomness. So from our random module, let's go ahead and import choice. That allows us to pick randomly a single value from a list. Looks like all the words we have are going to fit lovely in a list, and then we can randomly pick one. We also need to bring that logo in from a different file. So from logo, import logo, super simple there. We also want to import our OS, that's the operating system module. We're just going to use that to clear our screen when necessary. And then our last import. So this is going to be the only external package we need. It's called Colorama. If you do not have it installed, you will need to. And we're going to import back and style format. Colorama is what is going to colorize the different letters for us in our terminal. And again, I'll explain that more when we get to it. That's going to be down here in our update display map. And if you need to install it, you would type pip install Colorama and run. I already have it installed. This is going to be a global install, but again, no worries. Really simple package and a pretty useful one. All right, so we've got our imports. Let's try to tackle the constructor next, and that'll probably be it for this video. So I want to add 2 default parameters. We're going to default to playing with 5-letter words. Again, if we want to play with a different amount, we would just pass in a different number. And then I'm also going to do logo equals logo. Again, default using our logo. In the event that we wanted to do anything different, we could also pass that in. So we definitely need to set up self.letters equaling our passed in letters. And we're also going to want we need self there. Cool. We also want self.logo to equal our logo. We are going to need a few more attributes in this class to keep track of information in our game, though. So let's also set those up. I'm going to say self.words equals self.getAllWords. There's absolutely no reason why you can't call a method from the constructor. In this case, getAllWords is going to be a very reusable method. It'll get all the words of the correct letter amount for us and then save them to a variable. Again, we could have the code here in the constructor, but then you can't choose to call it again. Again, the constructor only gets called when we instantiate the class. By abstracting it to a separate method, we could call it over and over again if needed, but again, we also don't have to. There's just some wonderful reusability there. I also want to make a game word. So this is going to be the winning word that we have to randomly pick. We also have a wonderful method for this called choose_game_word. Again, might as well call it here in the constructor, but define it elsewhere. If we want to play again, we're going to need to choose a new game word. If that's tied to our constructor, we'd have to make a new class. If it's not tied to our constructor, we could call it at any time. Let's see. Couple more attributes. So I want to keep track of the current guess. What did our user just guess as their word? Feels to me like a string is a pretty good thing for that. I also need to keep track of all the guesses, though, because if we look at our game, each time we make a guess and we see the game board, it is being completely redrawn from scratch. So when we get tubes, that's only one. But when we guess champ, the game board has to redraw tubes and redraw champ. And so, like our last one, it had to redraw 5 words. We have to have those saved somewhere. Seems to me like a list is going to be a great way to do that. And I actually want to make a list of lists because again, usually we're going to be looking letter by letter. While we could leave it as a string, most of the time we feel more comfortable iterating through lists. So why not? I don't need the variable in this comprehension, so that's why I've got an underscore. I'm just going to have a range here for 6. This list comprehension is going to make a list full of 6 empty lists, and that's all I'm looking for it to do. Again, you do not have to use a comprehension to do that, but hey, looks pretty nice and clean, so why not? One other thing, I'm going to want to keep track of the tries, like how many tries has our user done. You could go 6 down or 0 up to 6. I'm going to start with 0 because it's going to be really helpful for indexing. But hey, either would work. And the last thing I'm going to do is call yet another method because we have a method called playGame. playGame is going to be the quarterback. It's going to be in charge of calling the other methods and just making the game work. No reason to not call it and go right into it once our game is set up with our constructor. Cool. So this looks like a strong constructor for me. One thing I do want to point out is I have not bothered setting up private attributes here. It is always a good practice to do that and set up getter and setter methods. But if we think about our game, you can only interact with this game when you make a guess. That's the only time a user has any sort of ability to do anything. So again, really the entire thing is private. And again, it just wouldn't be necessary to spend extra time making those getters and setters when our user has no ability to call them. Cool. So again, that is our constructor. Next video, we'll deal with getting all our words and possibly choosing words. Hope you're enjoying the game so far. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.